Okay, so in the last video, I talked a bit about some variables and how we were setting these up to be used and to have something stored in them and to also take values in and that sort of stuff. Right? So that was last video. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about making programs that are a little bit more interesting than hard coding in values, and that is to do an if. Right? So what we might do is let's use a basic sort of setup. So let's change words to be name. All right, and we'll take away. We don't need to give the value at the start. All right, we'll change it to name, age, and let's say what else can we do? Name. We could just do name and age for now. Let's get rid of that one. We'll leave the boolean. We'll do something with that too. Let's get rid of these values. All right. Let's say console.writeLine. What's your name? So what's your name? And then they're going to respond with their name. So we're going to say name equals console.readLine. Keep in mind, it's going to take in whatever values they type in, and it's going to store it in the variable name. And then because I'm lazy, I'm going to copy paste this and change the text to be how old are you? Right. And then again, I'm going to steal this line, but I'm going to change it obviously from name to be age. Right. So it's going to read in their name and their age, and then we're going to use our first if statement. So we're going to say if name equals Mark, then, well, if name equals Mark, well, then what are we going to do? We're going to say, okay, console.writeLine. Hi, Mark, right? Which is a quote from The Room, if anybody's seen that, one of my favorite terrible movies, right? We're going to say if their name's Mark, we're going to print out, oh, hi, Mark. So let's see how this goes. So we'll test what happens if my name's Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Right? We'll go back and we'll test it again. And this time I'm going to put in my actual name. Right? It doesn't say, oh, hi, Mark, because my name's not Mark. Right? So if, and only if, this variable here contains the word Mark, only in that situation will it print this out. Okay? We've got if that, and then if age, and we can muck around with some symbols now. So you can do like less than, greater than, that sort of stuff. So we'll say if age is over 17, meaning 18 or older, then we can say console WriteLine cool. You're old enough to drive. Alright. That's not a quote from anywhere. I'm just trying to think of another way. So if my name's Mark, it'll do this, and if I'm over 18, it'll do this. Alright. Now essentially I've got a couple things that I got to test. Well, I guess we don't have to test the Mark thing too much. So let's say I'm 11. It just says, oh, hi, Mark. And then if I'm Mark and I'm say 20, it says, oh, hi, Mark. Cool, if you're old enough to drive. Right? And again, now I can test it to say Luke, and over 18, you're old enough to drive. I can then test it again and say Luke and underage, and it won't say anything. So there's two different states that we're testing for each of these. So Luke, 10 years old, says nothing, right? So only if this condition is met will it do the things here, all right? Now, one of the things that you'll notice, which I should have spoken earlier about, is these little indentations here, right? Your program wants to do it automatically anyway, but essentially you should keep your if and your end if on the same like level. Everything inside them should be one tab space in, right? See that? Should be one tab space in. That tells the program that this is a part of this if statement. Right, so that's if, right? And we can now look at else, right? So let's change this now. So it says, stuff that up. So say else, right? So if their name is Mark, say hi Mark. I'll say console right line. Hi. You know what? I'll actually use their proper name. Oh, I'm having issues here. No, it's gone. So hi. Hi name, right? So if it's Mark, it'll say, oh, hi Mark. If it's something else now, it will say hi Luke or hi whoever. Right. So if their age is over 18, we can say, cool, you're old enough to drive. Else, console, right line. We'll say, boo, you can't even drive. Right. Now, similarly to before, I can test those couple of different scenarios here. So I can test if my name's Mark. Not that I need to test this anymore. But if I'm Mark, I'm 10 years old, says, oh, hi Mark, boo, you can't even drive. Right? I can test it again. I can say that Mark, I'm 22. Oh, you're old enough to drive. Right? Now, if it's a different name, so if it's not Mark, it's, oh, actually press enter. Right? Stuff that up. Let's try it again. Hi Luke, we can't even drive. And Luke, 29. Cool, you're old enough to drive, right? So you can see that these are working now. Yeah. So these both are if statements with an else attached to them. So if it's Mark, it'll say, oh, hi Mark. Else, if it's any other name, we can say, hi whoever, right? Now there's another tier to this that you can add. You can add an else if. So, and they need to go in the order of if, else if, else. Else has to be the last condition. So let's jump down one and say else if name equals Lisa, then so this works very similar to a regular if statement. And say console dot write line. We'll say you're tearing me apart, which is another quote from that movie. Alright. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. So now, effectively, if it's Mark, it'll say this. If it's Lisa, it'll say this. If it's anything else, it'll say this. So you see that we're covering a couple of different bases here, right? So with the age, let's say if you're over 18, that's like cool, you're old enough to drive. Else if, oh, let's just write a new line. Else if, I'm going to think of something, let's say age is greater than 15. I'm not sure if it'll work this way, but let's give it a go. So else, so if you're younger than 17, then if you're at least 15 or over 15, so 16, So let's test if it works. I'm thinking that it should work. So let's say I'm Lisa and I'm 17, right? You're tearing me apart, Lisa, which is what we wanted. Only a few more years until you can drive. So you can see now that, so obviously with the names, if it's Mark, it's this. If it's Lisa, it's this. Otherwise, it's this. With the age, if they're over 17, says you're old enough to drive. Otherwise, so if you're not over 18 but you're over 15, it'll say only a few more years until you can drive. Otherwise, if you're not older than 15, it says prove you can't even drive. Right? That's if, else if, else. So you can see how those start to work. So, and you can actually have as many else ifs as you want. So you could go under here and add another else if in here, right? So name equals, I don't know, dog. All right. Also, if your name is dog, I'm trying to think of more characters from that movie. That's been too long. I'll say nice doggy. Right. So yeah, you can have as many else ifs if you want. You can do 100 if you want to. Yeah. So that's basically how these work. Hopefully that helps you out at least with the idea of if statements and how they work. So it's always if, as many else if as you want, and then else is the last one, and then you got to close it with an end if. And they should all be level with each other. I think that's all that I was going to say. So take it easy, guys. Thanks.